Welcome to another enriching episode of the Men After God podcast, the resource for those passionate about leading and growing impactful men's ministries. Today, we'll dive into strategies, share insights, and discuss tools to help you inspire and guide the men in your church and community. Let's embark on this journey together to build stronger ministries and foster authentic brotherhood among men.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Men After God podcast, and Happy New Year! I am so thankful you made it through 2024. You've got such a bright outlook for 2025. It's going to be amazing. You're casting vision. You've casted vision. You're equipping people. You're engaging them to come alongside you to accomplish what God has called you to do in your men's ministry and your ministry as a whole. And you are looking forward to what God has in front of you. But today, Luke, we're not just talking about vision. We're going to be talking about something that's going to help them accomplish that vision.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good conversation. I think, especially as we go into the 2025 and bright outlooks. And for those of you who don't have a bright outlook, well, let's hope we brighten it today. But just the concept of
if you're the pessimist listening, you're not gonna like this.
Yeah, well, you might love it, you just won't like it, but that's okay because we're going to be talking about the concept of not doing things alone, and from Lone Ranger to equipped leader. It's a unique conversation because there's so many leaders out there, especially in church ministries where maybe a smaller ministry and you're the only person who's going to the office, clocking in, or whatever you do in your process, or you're studying alone. I think this is going to be an encouraging and a value add for many of those that are looking for, like, hey, how do I go from doing it alone to having a team? We want to talk about teamwork, but I don't have a team. Let's talk about that.
Especially if you're a church planner, a missionary out there listening, you're like, Dustin, Luke, guys, I love what you're going to say today, but I don't have anyone. Well, I think there's a way you can, especially in the 21st century. I was on a social media page. Luke, you and I both were on there. It's the Pastors Connection Network. There's an interview with James Bell, the guy who started it. He's coming out in January. It's a phenomenal network. If you're not a part of that, highly recommend you jump in there. But I saw a post on there where a guy was asking, hey, what's the reason you don't share your struggles or things with people in your church? And the overwhelming response from the pastors in that network was, well, because I have. And then I heard about it from 5 other people within 72 hours, or because I did, and then it was used against me. One guy said he shared his vision with someone from the church that he was candidating at. That vision got shared with a number of different people, and then a church split was threatened if he got hired, even though the vision was a 10-year vision down the road. And, there's discernment and there's different things to talk about there. But one of the key factors we want to approach today is how do you minister? How do you go from feeling as though you're alone in ministry, alone in what you want to do in your ministry, to having something there that can help you bridge the gap as you grow into trusting those that are around you and truthfully finding the ones that you can trust? And what are some things you're going to face in that today? So we had a great conversation. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Proverbs 15, verse 22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. We know that we need people around us we can talk to, people we can share our struggles with, people we can bounce ideas off of, and different things of that nature. But how do you do it when the people around you, you're afraid they're going to burn you? Now, Luke is so good with people, and I'd love for him to talk about just a minute how to go from that place of, man, I'm scared to talk, to getting to where I can talk.
Yeah, I think that obviously most of us who have dealt with this, and I'll be honest, I'm someone who shares my heart with everybody. I'm very, vocal is the word. My wife calls me wordy. I talk a lot, and I'm not going to apologize.
And that's why we have him on the podcast.
Right, exactly. But the bottom line is that I really don't have a hard time sharing, but I've met with so many individuals and prayed with a lot of people who they're alone. And they're alone because they've been burned by those closest to them. I mean, you look at pastors in the ministry, most pastors, 70-some%, I think the stat is 70% of pastors report that they have no close friends in the ministry, specifically in their church, meaning that you might have another pastor you lean on or another leader you lean on that's not in your ministry, but there's very few pastors in the ministry that have close friendships within the church. Now they have people that they lead and they have relationships within the church because that is part of leadership. But if someone that you can go unburden yourself to or go really share your heart, it's just not there, and it's not healthy to stifle it. So I'd say that a lot of it has to do with that concept of, and most of us, you've been burned. You have shared something, you have, and whether it be personal, whether it be, even with family things going on, we're like, hey, would you pray for me in this? And someone who is supposed to be a prayer warrior, is supposed to be a Barnabas to you, turns out to be a gossip for you. And they become now a vocal person in the church who now is using what you've given them to against you in a way. And that'll get anybody to like, no, I've been seared there. I'm not going to go there again. And so the natural instinct is for us to close up and like, I'm going to stifle it. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to have any friends in the ministry. And that's not biblical. Because again, the concept of working together in unity and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. How do we start to open up but not get burned? And I want to say it kind of in the beginning here: where there's relationship, where there's love, there's pain, and you're not going to be able to trust everybody because not everybody's trustable. And honestly, you don't get to be the deciding factor of whether you can trust somebody or not. That's going to be a lot up to them and a lot up to God. And you still have to do what you need to do in the process. So what do I mean by that? Take a step back, and just like you would build any relationships take time. They take effort and intentionality, and start to build that. And a lot of the times what we're trying to do is we're supportive of everybody in our ministry, want to help everybody and fix all their problems. But if you want to have a friend, you need to be the friend. So you start being the one that they're going to trust stuff with. And a lot of that is you getting to them and asking what they need prayer about, what they, start to be the person that you need in your life. And the Bible talks about, he that hath friends must show himself friendly. The concept is, I'm going to reap what I sow. If I'm trustworthy and I'm the one who's taking a lot, and you are as a leader, you're taking a lot of people are telling you things that are a lot, right? And you can be trusted with that, and you're not spreading that. And you're not using that against them either. You're going to start to find you can find there's a few. It's not everybody in your ministry. It's just there's a few that you eventually know, I can trust that person. They've got my back. They'll pray for me. They're not going to misuse it. And really, one makes all the difference in the world. If you get two or three, you've got an inner circle of friendship and support that you can go a long way with. But it doesn't just start with going like, hey, are you trustworthy? Are you trustworthy? No, I'm trustworthy. I've got your back. And then eventually there's a bond that's built there.
I absolutely love that. And I love the statement you made there near the end of it's not everyone. I've worked with people before who are leaders that want to be friends with everybody. You can be friendly with everyone, but not everyone is going to be your friend. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. It means they're at a place in life. It means that the relationship there, it's better for them not to. But there are people around you where you can trust wholeheartedly and give everything over to. And here's one of the accusations that would get made against you if you are a leader who opens up to a group, but not everyone, and people are aware of it. You're cliquey. You're not transparent. You're, let's see, what's the word? A hypocrite. Because you're one way with this group and one way with another. Like, hey guys, let me just share some stuff with you. If you're in leadership, you're going to be insulted. You're going to be made fun of. Your people are going to assume your motives, as pure as they might be. People will assume what your motives are. So get ready for that. That's where it's important to have these people around you. John Maxwell says, one is too small a number to achieve greatness. What God has called you to is a great thing. Whether it's pastoring a church of 20 in a small country town, or I met a guy recently who is pastoring a church north of the Arctic Circle in Canada. Luke, I would be depressed 24/7 if I just had to say I lived there. Okay. Like if I'm just, hey, where do you live? Arctic Circle. I live in the Arctic Circle. But this guy was going after it, and he's reaching people there in a smaller community. I mean, I think the town was like 600 people. So he's got a small group of people he's loving and he's leading. And so it doesn't matter the size of your church or what it's going to be. You got to find the ones who you can engage with, who can be that brotherhood for you, because God's called you to do something great in pastoring a church. However, what do you do in the meantime? How do you find people to bounce ideas off of, to love on you, to care for you? Well, first off, if there are other ministry leaders in your area, I highly recommend connecting with them. I've got friends in another ministry that helped carry me through a time of transition in my life whenever I resigned from a ministry and I'm now entered the next phase that God has for me. And if it wasn't for them, like, it would have been a much more difficult season. And then secondly, this is where I'm so thankful for the internet. With everything it has that is awful, it has some amazing things as well, which is the opportunity to connect. Facebook groups are great, and we've got the Men After God network that you can connect in, the Pastors Connection network we talked about. There's the Idea network, the Ministry Connection community. There's the SBC Pastors group. There's a group for you. Like, maybe you're a pastor that likes to play Dungeons and Dragons. Don't tell anybody. Shh. There's a group for you, okay? Whatever it is, there's a group for you, and you can get connected in that way and find your people. However, you can't make that your only people, but it's a great place to have someone around you who can call you, who can get on a Facebook Messenger with you or something. Now, I realize I'm 37 years old and I'm talking Facebook. So some of you pastors and ministry leaders may be a little younger. I don't know what you're using. I don't think Instagram has these capabilities, and maybe you're on school in some sort of development group or something, which, by the way, if you're looking to get fit, check out Mind and Body Fitness. John Beasley got a great group there. But there's so many opportunities for you to connect, and it's one of the reasons Men After God exists in the way that it does. We provide content, community, coaching, and conferences. That is what we are growing and developing, and that community is online to support you, to love you, to pray with you, to hear your burdens, to talk to you about what you're going through in ministry, counsel if it's needed. And we want to be there as a part, as a coaching network, as a community building network, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. We want you in that and a part of it. Now, Luke, we talked beforehand, and I'll jump into this. I'll let you talk a little bit because you explained so well once I said what was said to me, like why people think this way. I was called. I don't even know. I don't know what the word was. There was a Facebook post put up about me after my resignation that I was a network pastor and I should be rebuked. Mm-hmm. I remember being shown that by someone because I wasn't friends with the individual who shared it. And I saw it. I'm like, what's that? What's a network pastor? And I was really not bamboozled, befuddled. Yeah. I think that's the word. I was confused. But Luke gave some great insight there because, guys, I want to tell you again, no matter what you do in ministry, your motives will be assumed. Whether they're most of the time, they're not assuming good motives. They're going. Many people will assume negative. Go ahead.
And just to clarify, your motives do matter. So they may be assumed.
True.
So there's two sides to this coin. But where we're going with this is that the assignment of motives is unique because it's going to be. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
Absolutely. And that's where I'll tell you guys, don't assume the motives of the people around you, because if you begin to assume people's motives, you begin to live in a false reality you've built. And living in a false reality is not good. Whether it's the matrix or your own mind, it's not somewhere you want to be. So the network pastor, as I'm connecting, I'm developing relationships. God was opening the doors for me to be able to speak in places and things like that, and still has. That came out. And so, guys, I want to let you know, like, as you do this, as you talk about it with your church family and those friends and people in your ministry are closest to you, maybe this is something that's brought up and I want you to be cognizant. So Luke, talk to him for a minute just about how that mindset, that thought, because you were so enlightening to me just before we got on here and talked about it.
Well, you think, sometimes people think that there are negative, like they come up with an idea that something is negative. So in the context of this, like a comment, which obviously I think there's a lot of pastors on here that would be considered, according to maybe this individual, a network pastor, which is someone who in their perception connects with people for their self-gain, self-promotion, self-glorification. And I don't think that's healthy. I think that that's not biblical. We want to give glory to God. But I do believe that the more you lift God up, he's going to draw all men nigh unto him. And if you're lifting up Jesus, people are going to be looking in your direction, right? And that's not a bad thing. And so looking at like, hey, what is a network person? They're a unifier. A lot of times what some people would consider as a network person is someone who's literally just connecting people, and especially if they're doing it for the right reasons, right motives, be careful, because you don't want to do it for the wrong motives. But the concept of I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to connect with as many people as possible because I'm trying to further the gospel. And the concept of, I don't know who said this, but it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I don't believe a network pastor, a unifying individual, someone who's well connected, is someone who's going to limit themselves or limit God. I believe God works through many men as much as he works through a few men, right? And so the opportunity here is, hey, as a leader, you don't need to be alone, and you shouldn't be alone. So if you have the reverse side of the network pastor, is the guy who's by himself, who's still serving faithfully, who wants to do what God wants him to do, but is limited because they have no outside resources, encouragement, a brotherhood bond, understanding, all of the things that you get from not being alone. It is not good that man is alone. And you say, well, I have my wife. Your poor wife, if you don't have any friends. You need people. My wife needs me to have friendships outside of our marriage that are healthy, biblical, help me be accountable, all of the benefits of that threefold cord, right? And so, sometimes we look at the network pastors, they're constantly out there networking. No, they're filling their cup, and that's not a bad thing. And you got other people that are literally stifling themselves, and they're hurting themselves, they're hurting their marriage, they're hurting their ministry because they're afraid. There's a fear of, if I network and if I open up and if I connect, and I'm going to be, compromising. Networking is not compromising. No. I will say I have seen more pastors that are networking, furthering the case of the gospel, furthering the kingdom, than the individual who is hunkered down in their little bunker with their 10 members in their church, pretending that they're preaching the gospel when they might be preaching the gospel to people that have been saved for 30 years. And by the way, I am not questioning your calling. I'm saying that doing it alone is not God's calling. That's not for you. That's not for anyone.
Yeah. No, I love that. And you mentioned the hunkering down in the bubble and things like that, and being afraid to get out there because of compromising. I'm curious. This is just a thought. This is the random musings of Dustin. If a person is strong in their beliefs and knowing I'm not compromising, then what's the fear of getting in a room of people that believe differently? Getting in a conversation online with people that believe differently. I'm not telling you to engage in a debate on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. It's not going to be helpful. That is stupid. Don't do that. You're not changing anyone's minds. You're just debating for the sake of debating. And if that fills your cup, don't tag me. However, one of the things I love about the networks I've been a part of is it has had men from various parts of the spectrum of Christianity. And in fact, the one I'm in now, it's probably more so than before. And I'm sitting there looking like, wow, all right, well, probably not going to ask that guy for advice, but hey, glad he's here. And then there's other guys that, again, I align 100% with, 99%. Nobody agrees on everything. And so
96, just
96. It's true. It's true. Yeah, there you go. And so, but that's the thing is, if you are that strong in your beliefs, then what's it matter if someone's different? Well, bless God, they're wrong. Well, okay, fine. Let them be wrong. That's between them and God. Last time I checked, you want judge, jury, and executioner. So, but okay, Luke, so we talked about the friendship and being able to identify. Unfortunately, we can't just, I wish, wouldn't it be great? Like, have a pair of glasses, Google, hey, listen to me, Meta, Google, this is what I want. Your next upgrade. I want glasses I can put on and it looks at a person and it says trustworthy or not. Maybe like a social credit score. That's what we should do, Luke. We should get social credit. I'm kidding. This is a joke. Score. I do not believe in that whatsoever, man. Just so we're clear. All right.
Just kidding,
but seriously, yeah, right. Yeah, China, I'm sorry. But looking at people and being able to say, like, okay, all right, are they trustworthy? Are they not? Or they walk around with a sign on their head, we can't do that. But when it comes to the networks we're a part of, we can identify some credible ones. And we can spend some time looking into them, make sure there is value alignment and things of that nature. And this is where I'm thankful for the ones I'm a part of. Like, the value alignment is based upon primary issues, right? For instance, the gospel. If you tell me I don't believe in the literal resurrection of Christ, I'm not going to be a part of your network at all whatsoever. I'm just not even going to do it. If you tell me that I don't believe in a literal 6-day creation, that's an important thing to me. And if it's your network, I'm probably just going to be like, well, I'm really happy for you, but I don't align there, right? And so if you believe that, as long as you believe the gospel, I'll see you in heaven. You'll find out you're wrong, and that's fine. But you need to have your own metrics, your own litmus test for the networks you're going to be a part of and that you're okay with and you're okay working with. For instance, Men After God, we keep things very simple here. We believe the gospel, that Jesus Christ lived on earth as the Son of God, a perfect sinless life, died on the cross, 3 days later was bodily resurrected and will bodily return. That is a simple thing, right? Salvation's by grace through faith. You believe in Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, paying for your sins, and the Bible says you have eternal life. And then we live from that identity. That's why we talk about all the time, a holistic approach to living for Christ. We live from our identity in Jesus. And at that point, if you believe something different, we'll have a discussion with you and things, and we can work with you and all that. But you need to know where we stand, because that's who we are. And if that's where you are, fantastic. If you're not there, we'd love to bring you there. But that's who we are. And if you want to work with us, we want to work with you. And then ask yourself, what are the goals of being a part of this? There's a few things Luke has said already that come as a great benefit of being a part of a network and connecting with people. And you have, Luke, you're talking about you have people you could talk to, then you need people you can really call on. I think I saw someone recently describe it as like your 2 a.m. friend. Like, who do you have in your life that you could call at 2 a.m.? And I'll tell you, I will be your 2 a.m. friend, and I love you. I'm a deep sleeper. So it's not that I won't talk to you at 2. Yeah, just call Luke. Yeah, like you can call me, and I want to answer, but I might not hear it. And so, but nonetheless, find that 2 a.m. friend. And I have found it through these networks. I have found them in my personal life. I've got some of those too. But in that bridging the gap there, the men that I had met online and through these different networking events and stuff Luke is one of them. Him and I connected through a network and have just a phenomenal relationship now. And I know I can call Luke at any time. And I feel bad, like, for his wife, because and he told me, like, Monica's, it's Dustin. Like, yeah, okay, all right, great, good. She doesn't hate me, but nonetheless, set clear goals. Why are you networking? What are you doing? So that you know your motives, because you're going to be accused your motives are something different. But if you know what they are, tell people what they are. And then that way they can know. And then, Luke, you mentioned something about the accountability and checking in and different things of that nature. What type of value does that bring for you in your life? And then take us through the other couple that are listed here.
Yeah, I might miss the list. I don't know where we're at, so you'll guide me here. Highlight where it's supposed to be. I can see your highlights.
Yeah, good. So we're talking about the check-ins and then making sure we get good feedback.
The concept, biblically, we use the verse, all the time. From the time I was a very young child, we use iron sharpeneth iron, right? So it's not just I'm going to go to someone and get better, get sharpened. I'm literally going to be able to, as I build relationships, our accountability. So I'm not bragging about this, but it really means a lot to me. My pastor at my church, we're close friends. Like he's a friend of mine. He's one of my best friends. He was what I call, Dustin calls them 2 a.m. friends. I call them middle of the night friends. And I used to have like a hashtag, that went with it. But the middle of the night, because a lot of us are the friend of 1,000 and have one or two, if that, middle of the night friends at one time, right? So, and that's not a bad thing. You should have some people you trust. And sometimes we lean into family thinking that they're going to be that. And I don't recommend or not recommend. I'm very good friends with my siblings, but there are times when I'm like, no. This is a spiritual need that mom can't solve. And I'm real close with my mom, and there's a lot there. But the iron sharpens iron concept of what does this mean? Well, let's just say it's accountability, and you've got struggles. Maybe you've got some struggles. Maybe it's financially, like you don't have a healthy relationship with money. Well, I know some people in my life that are in that boat. I also know some people in my life that have a very great relationship with money. And so if you were to just proximity, accountability wise, maybe someone's got, you need some help being, I am a social butterfly, but not a goal butterfly. Like, I'm not real driven. I follow Dustin and work with Dustin. Dustin keeps me on track, right? And I love that. And Dustin's ADHD, and he still keeps me on track, right? And so in the process of it, there are different people that are going to fill different needs. But the basis of it is that you need to put people in your life who are going to make you better, that you can, as you're becoming the best version of yourself, you're going to help other people, as well as that relationship that you're in, whether it be a network or whether it be a close accountability partner. And it can be in so many areas. It can be in having someone who's just a sounding board for advice, like an inner circle advisory board, if you would. You say, man, these are a lot of relationships. I don't have time for this. No. A true friendship doesn't take time. You hear me out. You say, man, that doesn't make sense. Intentionality requires time, and the relationship takes time to build, but a true friendship does not drain your time. It's an investment of time. when I talk to someone who I'm really close with that is going to add value, it is not a waste of my time. And I don't have to deal with a bunch of the frivolous, how are you doing and how's your, no. We go right to the point because the friendship doesn't require us to check in every week and send a bunch of reels to each other. Like literally, I've got a very few friends that I talk to about once a year, but I know that in a moment I could call them. The friendship does not need to be consistently built. It takes a little bit to get there, but now that we're there, we're there. So looking at this as an opportunity, just the iron sharpeneth iron concept is biblical. It's a biblical principle. So if you don't have other iron in your life, don't be surprised if you're getting dull.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that sharpening often comes in the form of feedback of some sort. Proverbs 12:15 says the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. I've got I've been mentioning this book a few times on the podcast because I've been listening to it, and it's Necessary Endings. Phenomenal book. I'm going to see if I can get the author on here. That'd be great. But he has a chapter on there about the wise, the fool, and the evil, and just talking about people. And it was really cool how he described all these things. And honestly, you hear the wise one, and all of us in our pride are like, oh, okay, I got this. I'm good. And then he starts going over into the talks about the fool, and he talks about being the fool. Then you're sitting there like, oh, wait a minute. I'm relating way too much to this. I do not appreciate this. Hang on, stop. This is more than the wise. I thought I was doing okay. But truthfully, was something I've learned in my life, and is that there's times where you are the wise one, and there's times you're not. And you've got to help get some discernment on that. And I've heard it said, maybe it was Maxwell, self-awareness is often others' awareness. I just had a conversation the other day with a young couple, and the young man said something, and the young lady looks over and goes, no, you're not. And he goes, yes, I am. And I'm just like, stop, you're not. I know you're not, because she doesn't see it, right? And so it's something to work on. But so you got to be open to suggestions. Let people challenge you and your things. I'm not talking about doctrinal stuff. Again, we're not talking about it. We're talking about growing and developing, because when you take that feedback, when you begin growing and developing, when you have humility to receive what's being said, then you're going to begin seeing changes in your life, not just personally, but the impact on your marriage, the impact on your children, on your relationship with your children, the impact on your ministry. All of these things come from friendships and relationships that might be in a network. They might be real close to you, that help you to grow and develop, try new things, do something different, or get ideas and stuff. I love coaching. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love coaching conversations. I had a man called me just the other day, and he asked about coaching as like a dad and stuff. And then we start talking. I'm like, man, this guy, it's not coaching he needs, right? Like we don't do coaching for people that don't need coaching. Because he's telling me his experience with coaching was different than mine. He said he would get on for a coaching call, tell the guy the problem, and the guy would tell him what to go do. I'm like, that's the complete opposite of anything I've ever heard of coaching. And so I'm like, all right, well, we finally gets to something like, okay, I can coach on that for right now. So I said, all right, let's enter a coaching conversation. 15, 20 minutes later, I said, all right, conversation over. Tell me what that was like for you. And he's like, man, it was invigorating. You made me think. You asked questions that I hadn't thought about. You got me to understand some things, but you didn't tell me anything. I said, yeah. All I did was ask you questions. And now what he did from that conversation is he went and made a special time in his schedule for him and his son to go spend time together. It was supposed to only been for an hour. I think it ended up being a few hours where they just got to enjoy each other. And this is a young son. Like, I think he's like 2-3 years old, but the dad was concerned that he was overworking. He wasn't concentrating enough on his relational development with his kid. I mean, just a good dad, and just needed some reassurance and then a little direction. But I didn't have to tell him anything. He knew what he needed to do. So we just ask the questions to get it out. And that's what a coaching conversation is like. So when you begin to have these relationships and have people investing into you, people around you are going to see the difference, because you are what is it, Luke, the statement, you're the summation of the 5 people you spend the most time around.
Right.
And maybe you don't have 5 people around you that are like, okay, I'm hoping to become like them, but I bet you could find some online, good people online. That doesn't mean you can't have them around you, but we're talking about bridging that gap right now. And even the bridging the gap, they'll become lifelong friends. And then you still have them around you. So I'm going to toss it back to Luke to close us up. But I want you to understand today, when it comes to going from Lone Ranger to working with a team, you may have issues and troubles going from I'm not talking to anyone to talking to people near you.
Right.
But online, there's a safety factor, right? And that can help bridge the gap. And then there's a major investment once you do open yourself up. But when you open yourself up, you are doing just that. You're opening yourself up to love, encouragement, care, concern, compassion, being maligned, being hurt, whatever negative thoughts we could toss in here. But that's life. Yeah. And it's going to happen. And when it happens, feel the hurt. Know it. Commit in your heart not to do that with other people. And I mean, hurt them. But don't allow it to close yourself up to what could become some of the greatest relationships you could ever have in your life. Luke, give us some final thoughts and go and close us out.
Yeah, I would say, for the leader who's here, who you're in a place of loneliness. And I say this not because you don't have people around you, but because you feel alone as a leader. I've been in several places where in a large crowd or a setting of people that I loved and loved me, where I felt absolutely alone. And maybe it was the season I was going through, maybe it was the grief, maybe it was the burn I just felt, maybe it just all of this thing. And that whatever you're feeling, that fear, that tendency to be like, no, I'm never going to open up again. And it comes in different ways. You have the fear of, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be burned. And some of us are like an ostrich. We don't want the feedback. We don't want, if you get a good friend in your life, you know what they're going to do. They're going to call you out on your garbage. They're going to say, thou art the man. When I was in Bible college, we walked around college and we'd say hi to different people and say, oh, Luke, thou art the man. And I thought that was a compliment until I was like, wait, what is it? What is the context of that? Well, that is Nathan calling out David for his sin with Bathsheba. Oh. If you have a friend like Nathan, they're going to call you out on, hey, you don't have accountability in this area of your life. What are you thinking? Don't be a fool. Now, I don't like to be a fool. I certainly don't like to be called a fool, but I certainly rather be called a fool by my best friend than my worst enemy. In the sense of when my friend calls me a fool, he does it in love because he wants me to be wise. When my enemy calls me a fool, he calls me a fool because he sees my vulnerability and knows exactly how to hurt me. So in this process, face your fear and the fear of the relationship. And by the way, whatever depth you're at, some people are really good at friendships and you're really good at making a lot of connections, but no deep ones. Some of you are really, really not good at making any connections, but you have a few of the deep ones. Focus, again, face the fear. What's the fear? Is it fear of vulnerability? Is it fear of being burned? Hey, that's part of life. Feel what you feel. But kind of lean into it a bit. Lean into it for your own health, for your wife's health, whatever it is, because you're not supposed to do this alone. Ministry is not supposed to be done alone. There are lonely seasons. And God takes us through lonely seasons, and God's done that in the Bible several times. You see someone who went through a lonely season, and they were alone. But in ministry, in New Testament ministry, a lot of it was together, 2 by 2, door to door, right? Whatever it is, in the sense of it doesn't have to be alone right now. Not here. Maybe where you're at, but not here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Guys, you've been giving such great value today, and I hope that it is a blessing to you. If you are looking for a network to connect with, highly recommend Men After God Network. We're there on Facebook, facebook.com/group/Men After God. If you haven't followed us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Men After God, updated website, web address, URL there. And then our website, brand new and updated in December. Excited for everything going on there, www.menaftergod.net. Check that out, especially if you're looking for any resources for your men's ministry. We have a fantastic men's ministry battle plan to help get you men's ministry developed, revitalized, or grown. Only $7.50. It's 70% off what we could actually charge for it, and it is just so robust. I hope you'll check that out. And then if you're looking for a coaching or consulting relationship, we can do that either in a 12-week deal or our membership that we'd love to have you a part of. Get on there, get in touch with us, and we'll review your stuff and make sure we're a good fit and get out there with you. Don't do this alone, guys. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Welcome to 2025. It's going to have an amazing outcome for you as you continue to trust God and pursue after his heart. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Men After God podcast. We hope today's discussion has encouraged and equipped you on your journey. We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions, comments, or would like to partner with us, please reach out at support@menaftergod.net. Stay connected with our community by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/menaftergodpodcast. For deeper engagement, join our group at facebook.com/groups/menaftergod and connect with other men pursuing God's heart. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. Your feedback helps us reach more men striving to live faithfully. Until next time, stay strong in the faith and continue pursuing after God.